Hello there, Rodimus Prime here with another look at a Transformers War for Cybertron Siege Kingdom figure. This time we're going to have a look at Commander Class Rodimus Prime! Exciting. As is tradition, we'll start with a look at his box. This isn't an unboxing, he has already been unboxed and played with, which makes a change, because ordinarily I just unbox and poorly transform a figure. Not to say I'm not going to poorly transform him, but we'll get on to that shortly. Box art, again, all of the War for Cybertron art has been pretty special. Really liking his stoic, I'm going to stab you with my sword look, and his RV of Doom is looking quite well represented there. Some stuff, some rocks, explosions, lava, RV of Doom, the Ark again up there, always the way with these. Your normal Siege Kingdom art, and pictures of him on the back of the box. Rodimus, things that come with him, Hot Roddy car, RV of Doom, Battle Station mode. So, nice to see him in box art, but what does he look like in person? Here he is. Let's just move that down a bit. There we go, so we can see him better. Here we have him in RV of Doom mode. I don't know what it's always looked like an RV to me. I assume that's what it is. Some form of truck, I guess. Futuristic truck. But for all intents and purposes, it's Hot Rod with a trailer. As is apparently the way of being if you're a Prime. So, just quick look. I have transformed him a couple of times already. The first time I transformed him, I had fantastic success in getting this to actually close all the way, but this time, for the life of me, I haven't managed it. I'm sure there is a trick to it, I'm sure there is something I'm doing wrong, but I haven't looked to find out. But everything seemed to sort of fit together anyway. So you've got some blast effects here for smoke effects. And I stuck some blast effects coming out of his rear end for turbo boost. So yeah, he looks very much like Rodimus Prime. It's really nice. I am undecided whether I'm going to put him onto my Siege shelf or whether I'm going to pop him on my Studio Series 86 shelf, because I don't see them doing a Rodimus Prime anytime soon. So yes, really nice. Now, quick couple of things. This is the most expensive Commander Class figure to date. Clocking in at about, I think it's £90 is his normal sort of retail price, which is a good sort of tenner or more than Jetfire and Skylinks were. And it's big, it's chunky, it's a weighty piece, but for all intents and purposes it is a hot rod with a trailer. Now the trailer's nice, but just like the original Rodimus Prime, it is effectively, well, and indeed Optimus Prime for that matter, it is effectively a hollow chunk of plastic that you can open up, and inside there is some battle station-y accoutrement. Also, there's a lot of slots to put weapons or blast effects, so I mean that's quite fun, I suppose. And this bit can spin down. You can also open the door up to place things inside if you wanted to. one thing that's actually pretty cool about this is these bits are spring loaded, so they stay in place on and match up his exhaust ports on the side of him when in truck mode, but they just stay out of the way and automatically move due to spring loadedness when you deploy base mode, which is cool. So I'll pop these off. Oh, one other thing that's worth pointing out is he does have this tray where you can store some of the blast effects, etc. Currently has his matrix shiny thing, being all matrixy and shiny. It just goes back in there, which is nice, a nice touch. So let's just pop this down here, and this goes down. Oops. It comes up. And then you can pop this bit down, which is really stiff, I find. Ah! I did it straight away a minute ago, and now it doesn't want to. There we go. My bad. And you've got the connector piece that fits onto most of the other base MacGuffins that you may have knocking around. Pretty sure I was supposed to go the other way, but doesn't matter. So that goes there. Trailery thing. Let's get it in shot. Better, maybe a bit of a zoom. And then his cannon unfolds thusly. It is on a peg on the bottom here, which you can stow away and then have this mobile, or you can pop it back out like so and pop it onto the middle peg of this round section. So you can do that. That's the foot, so you can pop that down. And there's holdy gun handles, so you can do the base mode. Yeah, I mean, it's what it is. It's not particularly exciting, and it does its job. The big question is, how are you going to display your Rodimus Prime? Are you going to display him utilizing his weapon platform, or are you going to display him just on his Todd in robot mode? I'm undecided, to be honest, but this does take up a fair chunk of space, so I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with it. Is it going to be relegated to the box of Optimus Prime trailers? Quite likely, unfortunately. I do like the gun. I like the fact the gun is removable, but at the same time it all takes up a bit too much space on a shelf, and like many of you, space is a premium, and trailers, especially fairly chunky ones, I don't really have the luxury of being able to show them off, so this will probably end up being popped away somewhere, never to see the light of day, which is unfortunate because it looks very pretty. It's also unfortunate because it's about 2/3 of the size of the overall toy, which means that for all intents and purposes this is costing you about 50 quid. Looking at it a slightly different way, War for Cybertron, Kingdom, and the second one, you know, the other one, Earthrise, Optimus Prime, is about 50 quid, or 45-50 quid. His trailer is obviously much smaller, to the point of ludicrously tiny, but it's a Voyager class figure, effectively, with a trailer for 50 quid, as opposed to what is effectively, I mean, at a push, you could possibly say he's leader class. I'll compare him to another leader class figure later, but he's not that big. It's very nice. His spoiler is particularly large, but he's is it worth the money, is what I'm trying to say. I really like this figure. I really like everything about it, but the price, I did have to think about it, and I will admit that I got him on sale for considerably less pennies than he would have been ordinarily, and I felt better paying effectively £20 off of normal retail. And I will point out that I am not somebody who waits for things to come onto sale before I buy them for general things. I possibly foolishly am a believer in, if we want to continue to have really nice toys coming out aimed at collectors, then waiting for them to go onto sale and appear in B&M and Home Bargains and other such places, although it's great for our wallets, if we don't buy them when they're full retail and they only go down onto sale, then less of them will be bought by the main retailers, which means Hasbro are less likely to import them over here, which means we won't be able to buy them apart from on import, which will then be expensive. So that's my take on it. I think a few other people may agree, but lots of people probably will disagree because, you know, corporations and money and yes. Anyway, you've just been listening to me rant and staring at his car mode. Now, if you've watched any of my reviews before, you may notice that I am terrible at transforming figures. So we're going to see how this goes. Here is his sword, by the way. It just pops into little peggy dudes just on his shins there. Well, which will be his shins, actually the side of his legs, but we'll get to that. Okay, so transforming him. There is a correct way of doing it, and there is the way I'm going to do it, which is probably incorrect, but I'm going to start with unpegging the arms, which just pop off like so, and then they come out all the way, which is quite cool. It's probably the more efficient way of doing this, but I find that a lot of things peg into these arms, and if you get them out of the way nice and early, it makes it a bit simpler. So that's that part. Let's make sure this is always in focus, and then this can flip around there. Don't think we want it to right now, but it can. And you can spin its head around now, just so you get a look at that weird old man face that they went with. It's odd because I mean, it's an older version of Hot Rod, obviously, because you become a Prime, you age 40 years. But I don't know quite what they were thinking. They've done this a few with the Studio Series figures as well with Cup in particular. They've just sort of aged them to the point of lunacy. Anyway, let's just pop this bit off his back, which pegs in here. Oh, yeah, it took me ages to do this the first time. So there's the side panels here that peg into part of the leg there. I don't know how well you can see this. Let me just, oops, let's get a little bit more light. Hey, there we go. So you can see it pegs into that bit there, and the same on that side. It's probably the place to start, to be honest, but hey. And then this whole back piece can freely move, and what you can do is spin that around. You can pop those bits down onto the side, out the way. They don't peg in anywhere. Well, they sort of do. Well, I lied. They completely peg in places. I was a liar. And then that can sort of fold round and fold together. And there's a hole in the window there. There's a little peggy dude there. And if you get it right, which is tricky, you can peg it together like so. Hey. And then let's pay some attention to the legs, shall we? So just unpeg the wheel parts and move the feet out of the way like so. So they're up there, down there, and then these bits sort of flip up like that, and then what you should be able to do is, oops, sorry, unpeg in the middle there, and then round that goes out of the way. But what we're going to do in a second is actually bring that back that way, and that sort of clips in at the front there, and again there, and that shows you that this is actually the back of his legs, not the front of his legs at all. So these wheels, they do have a bit of give here, and they push in like so. Nice satisfying click, we like those. There's another one here, there we go. And then what you need to do is push those in, and there's a hole in his leg here, and the wheel part just pokes out that little hole. So you do have to do a little bit of bending of the plastic to get it to go in correctly. Oops. So this bit there should be flush, and then this bit goes in there like that. It's a little bit bendy plastic, but you can see, hopefully you can see this okay, that the wheel is don't know why I said it like that. Wheel. And the wheel is, you can still see it in there. Okay, and then the foot you can expand out and pop back into place there. It's got a sort of a rocker there for posings, and this bit should clip in there. I've had about a 50% success rate in getting these bits to clip in, so I'm not going to stress over it not going. Well, it has clipped in, that's good. And then that goes there. See, it's unclipped again. Oh, there we go. It does go properly if you get it lined up, but as I said, 50%. And again on this side, like that. If you see, you're going to need to bend the plastic just ever so slightly. There is a fair bit of give in there, but obviously you don't want to cause any stress marks, so be careful. And then you can see how that goes in there. Oh, it stayed in. Hurrah. And then pop that down there, and then the foot out like that. Bottom of his foot. Excitement. So now we have leggies. Oh, plastic seems to be separated a bit there, but I'm sure it's fine. Okay, so now I've probably done something out of order here, which will cause me problems in a moment. Let's just unpeg the back so I can show you this. There's a two-part hinge here that you're going to need to extend all the way, which is tricky to say the least. Now the reason you've got to be careful as well is because obviously this is transparent plastic and you do not want to break that. So push it all the way down to there, and oops, pop it out. It doesn't want to go. Okay, well, is that completely essential? We'll get to there in a second. But anyway, you have two rotating pieces here. You have the bit at his normal waist, and then you have a piece above his waist, which is attached to his arms. Now, this needs to rotate, which is why you need that hinge out of the way. You'd have a bit more room if you could get the thing to extend, but I can't, so I'm not going to try too hard because I'll be here all day. And then the waist can spin round, and then you can see that the arms are now facing the right way with the front grilly parts at the front, and the front parts of his hands. Well, we'll go on to the hands in a second. And his stoic face, so stoic, so very stoic. Look in there. So here you can see that the top part here sort of presses in to create a more chest-like thing rather than a flat thing. And these two pieces that cover up these grills in truck mode just flip back inside there, thusly. Now, I am going to admit that this next bit is the piece that I have had the most trouble with in my other attempts at transforming him. So I expect me to get possibly sweary, which Simon will possibly cut out, but also probably take a long time. Anyway, the theory goes that you flip this piece up and then this piece just sort of all clips together there, and you need to get the arms correct. So you need this piece, let's just get this out of the way. So this black piece needs to go down there, and then this grey piece, you've got a black bit there and a little hole there. That should clip in like that, and then the arm can come around like that. So if you do that on the other side, it's just not quite in the right place. There we go, clippy clip, and then that goes down like that. So then, theoretically, you should be able to. So the body, you've got quite a big gap in the waist there, a bit of a sort of a shelf where this should sort of clip in together. But as I've said, the first time I did it, it sort of went in almost by accident. And I haven't been able to duplicate it. Oh, another bit. This grey piece here and this grey piece here should marry up and pop in like that. And yeah, there shouldn't be that gap there. Well, anyway, let's not worry about that, because otherwise I'm going to be messing around with this all day long. On the arms, if you pop his hands, they're on a bit of a joint there, so you can push them like so, and then this piece should spin round. You want to pop this bit to the side, and what happens is the black piece here pops into this little notch here, and then the red bit you got left over folds up into there. There's a little clip. Easy. And the same on this side, hand down, spinny spin, spinny spin, clippy clip, and then his hands can go back like that. And then his arms have a double elbow. There's not a huge amount of give. Oh, actually there is. It can go all the way up. Apologies. That can. Oh, and another thing I completely forgot about. The wheels. You can see this. If you carefully pop like the front of the wheel off the hubcap, you can spin it round, and then, as you can see, there's a little tongue there that goes into that little hole on his shoulder there. So you push the wheel up and just pop that in, and that just makes the wheel go in a little bit into his shoulder rather than sticking out all the way. So push it in, push it in, come on, in you go. It's being stubborn now, isn't it? There we go. And then pop it down like that. So, with the minor exception that I've messed up the chest at some point and can't get that to just pop in. Oh, I know what I've done wrong. I know what I've done. Just unclip here, and unclip here, and this needs to. This grey piece here isn't quite in the right position, so everything else is being stubborn and naughty. So that should be more like that. Haha! And then you can push that in, so that now sits flush. Hooray! I haven't looked quite as much of a numpty as I normally do. And then that pops in there, and then that pops back in there. Huzzah! So there we go. We have possibly record time for me transformation, which is also reasonably accurate. Get his knees correct. And there we have, oops, focus, a Rodimus Prime. Let's pop him on top of his trailer so we can see him in all of his glory. Now he comes with a sword, and his hands are pretty much standard masterpiece finger configuration. 3 fingers all together and a trigger finger separately. So then let's pop his sword there, close his hands around it so he looks like he's holding it properly. And he also has his gun, which folds away for storage and then becomes Giganto gun. So every Prime needs a Giganto gun. There's that. Fingers around it. And there we have it. Rodimus Prime in all of his primely glory. Now, there's a couple of things we haven't had a look at yet, and one of which is hidden in his chest, because what sort of Prime does not have a matrix of leadership hidden away in his chest cavity? Now, what you can do with this is, if we get the drawer out here, unclip this, you can pop his matrix out of his chest. You can clip this piece on here, and then he can hold his matrix and light our darkest hour, and destroy Unigrons and things. So that's exciting. It's quite nicely sculpted. Quite like it. It'd be really nice with some light behind it. Maybe, actually, let's have a look. So, no, can't really get any light behind it that's on camera. Anyway, it looks cool. Yeah, it's fine. So let's pop that back in his chest, otherwise I'm going to lose it. And that can go back in there. And you can just about get him to hold it with his little fingers and hold it up to light the aforementioned darkest of hours. Plop his chest back together. So, very quickly, as I've waffled on forever, although still quick for a transformation for me, so I get some brownie points for that. Here is Rodimus Prime in all of his glory, and here is Studio Series 86 Hot Rod. So he is considerably larger than Hot Rod. Hot Rod is a Voyager class figure, ridiculously, in the Studio Series 86 range, so obviously a higher price point anyway, and is more of a movie aesthetic, whereas this dude has the War for Cybertron aesthetic, so more detailing on the panels rather than smooth panels. Well, he's got a fair bit of detailing on him, to be fair. But obviously this guy has all sorts of detailing marks on pretty much every surface apart from his front chest. So let's move him back. If we were to look at just a quick comparison to Titan's Return Deluxe Hot Rod, although this one's been toy hacked repro labels to resemble Thunderhawk from Mask, which is quite fun. Cool. Anyway, doesn't matter. He's obviously, I mean, it's ridiculous how much better a figure that, well, and the other Hot Rod is than this. The aesthetics are obviously different, but it's amazing how much better they've got with creating figures in a main line that isn't Masterpiece in a short amount of time. This kind of looks a bit cheap and chuff compared to this dude, and to be fair, this is a what was about 15 quid figure, and this is a £90 figure, so it is cheap and chuff. Let's chop this dude here out of the way. Now let's have a quick other comparison. Here is Commander Class Jetfire. Now you may notice there's a slight height difference between these two figures. This dude being, I mean, I will say he is definitely leader class-esque, or current leader class, because current leader class figures are all quite tiny. If we were to compare him to, Inferno here, who is a Voyager class, they are almost identical in size. Obviously, Rodimus is a lot more complicated, and there's more to him, and he's a lot more solid. That's another thing about this figure. There aren't huge empty voids, which has obviously become quite a staple of mainline figures in recent years. He's solid. There's no... you would not need fillers. You would not need to purchase a pack to have fillers in this figure. Even his hands, because they only move a certain amount. There's no great big gaps in the arms that there are with, say, the Titan's Return figure, and there's no giant gaps in his feet like there are with Inferno. In fact, Inferno, he's a Voyager class figure, but just heft wise, there's a difference. Not a massive difference, less of a difference than I was expecting when I picked them up, but there is a difference nonetheless. Very quickly, let's grab Earthrise Ultra Magnus, who is just to the side, but slightly further out of reach than I was expecting. He's not much shorter, and this is obviously a leader class figure. But again, Ultra Magnus has obviously his battle armor, so he is larger because of the additional pieces, but that's part of his thing. So yes, it's a leader class figure with a trailer, which seems to be what a commander class figure has become. Jetfire, I mean, I'm not even going to zoom out. He's going to stay not being on screen fully, just to make an example. In fact, let's even bring Skylinks into the mix. Here's Skylinks. Yeah, when you put the three commander class figures together and look at them, even with the trailer, which you can't actually see, move him back a bit, the trailer there, pop him on the trailer, Skylinks and Jetfire are still considerably larger, and to that extent I would argue better value for money, and also when they came out they were about a tenner cheaper. So, but hey, that's just general price rises rather than a particular issue with Rodimus. I imagine if he had come out earlier, he would have been at a slightly lower price point. Overall, he looks fantastic. There's a bit of controversy about his face, but I don't mind it. I like it. It transforms well. It's nice and complicated, but not too complicated. That's popped out his shoulder, which is slightly irritating. Get back in there. There you go. I could transform him without too many problems, which is always a good thing. But would I have preferred to spend, say, 50 quid on this and not have this? I will answer yes. However cool this may be, I have played with it, but it is now going to go away, never to see the light of day again. And that's about all I have to say about him. He's a really, really nice figure. He is too expensive. I would definitely prefer to have purchased him without the trailer. I haven't had any issues with this figure. The plastic on the legs there seems to be a bit separate. I'm not quite sure what's going on there. Hadn't noticed that. Well, unscrew it and put it back in. And I can't get the trailer to close all the way, but I think that's fairly common. So yes, well, thank you for watching. I've been Rodimus Prime. I feel very good about myself for making that transformation work for a change. So I'm going to go and have a celebratory beer. Have a good evening. I'll see you again.
Fingers on plastic.